I really respect people's right to peaceful protest, and we have seen peaceful protest as well. But we need to be far better at dealing with this when it crosses into criminal activities. That the right to peaceful protest is one thing, but the rule of law has got to be upheld, which is why I strongly condemn the actions over the past few days.
Two police officers have been taken to hospital after a second night of violence in Thetford in Norfolk. They were called to reports of a group trying to get into a house which they claimed housed asylum seekers. Jermy is the Labour MP for South West Norfolk, and he's here. Hi to you, Terry.
Good afternoon, John.
Hi, good to have you. So what's going on? 2 nights of demonstrations and disorder with a mob targeting and attacking what they see as homes for asylum seekers. What's going on?
It's hugely concerning over the past couple of days. I mean, this stems on from the concerns over the past few weeks about plans for an asylum centre at a former military base at Barnham. But we've seen criminal damage to property, assault to police officers, harassment of individuals. It's not been a pretty sight in Thetford over the past couple of days. It's been disgusting behaviour, frankly.
Yeah, people and property attacked. We've seen police officers attacked. I mean, a police officer was bitten to the point that blood was drawn. It does look ugly, doesn't it? Have you seen much of what's going on yourself?
Yes, I live in Thetford. I've lived in Thetford all my life. I was a local councillor before I was a member of Parliament. We are a lovely community, and it's really unsettling for local people to see this sort of behaviour. I've had lots of local Thetford residents contact me the past couple of days, worried sick about this behaviour, and in particular people from ethnic minority backgrounds who are worried about being misidentified as asylum seekers and what that might mean for them and their family. I would really urge people to think about their behaviour and the unrest that this is causing.
Are as far as you know, because you know your area, are the demonstrators locals, and where are they coming from? I ask because we have seen in past demonstrations, we've seen people coming in from far afield after online agitation. Do you know if any of that's going on here?
It's a mixture. There are plenty of local people with concerns, plenty of local people attending the process. I absolutely acknowledge that. I grew up in Thetford. I recognise some of the people attending the protest that I went to school with. But there is definitely an outside element to this as well, more sort of professional agitators, professional organisers that are stirring the pot, causing lots of concern, spreading misinformation, and what influence or what right do they have to come to Thetford and make our lives even more difficult than they need be? It's a real concern at the moment.
Yeah, and then you are seeing a certain amount of agitation online because that tends to be a feature.
Yes, I mean, the spread of misinformation online in these circumstances is a huge concern. There doesn't seem to be any proper process for closing down misinformation or deliberate spreading of misinformation, which is a real concern. And I've raised that with the Home Office. I really respect people's right to peaceful protest, and we have seen peaceful protest as well. But we need to be far better at dealing with this when it crosses into criminal activities. That the right to peaceful protest is one thing, but the rule of law has got to be upheld, which is why I strongly condemn the actions over the past few days.
And the spark to this, Terry, is a government plan to use a nearby military base to accommodate asylum seekers. It's a plan that you've opposed in the past.
It is. So the government identified MOD Barnham just on the outskirts of Thetford. It's technically in Suffolk, but the border of the base is within Norfolk and the town of Thetford, which I represent. It's a relatively small base. It's been redundant for a long while. I'm opposing it very much on the basis that it's just not suitable. We are a rural location, very limited infrastructure, very limited public services available locally, and lots of people's concerns are driven by the impact that this might have on the availability of healthcare services, for example. And that's really been the trigger for this, but also the use of HMOs and the dispersal policy. That's been the latest flashpoint over the past couple of days.
I suppose there aren't too many places, military bases or otherwise, where there'll be a warm reception, a lot of a welcome for housing asylum seekers there.
No, and I think the government's approach of driving down illegal immigration is the right one. We've seen obviously the numbers of small boat crossings decrease. We've seen the use of hotels decrease. I welcome that, but I also respect people's right to claim asylum. One of my criticisms of the Home Office in particular has been the lack of consultation, the lack of communication, even with us as MPs, with local councils, councillors. There is a way to do this that, as you say, it won't be warmly welcome, but we've got to address people's concerns, speak to them, and do what we can to acknowledge community cohesion and tensions that exist. And unfortunately, we've not seen enough of that over the past few weeks from the Home Office.
I mean, can you say you feel the Home Office and the administration under Andy Burnham has got the right approach to all of this?
I think it's early days, obviously, for Andy Burnham's approach, but the thing I like about Andy Burnham the most, he's a brilliant communicator. I'm really hoping he can communicate the good work the government is doing in relation to immigration, articulate and add voice to people's concerns and what we as a government are going to do to address that. Most of these concerns are rooted in the fact that we've got, in particularly in rural areas like Norfolk, we've got poor public services, we've got difficulties with low wages, housing conditions are poor, and people are blaming immigration for that, whereas actually most employers I speak to are desperate for immigration to support their local businesses, and we need the right people with the right skills.
Right, and so look, what's called for, you're saying, and surely logically you've got to be right, is a grown-up conversation about all this with the necessary people and stakeholders involved, because there are different ways of looking at all of this. I mean, the flow of asylum seekers needs to be controlled. Certainly that of people who are not asylum seekers, but actually economic migrants. But it's part of Andy Burnham's plan to open up safe and legal routes. So there will need to be a debate.
Yes, there does need to be a debate, and I very much support safe and legal routes. I don't think anybody supports people spending months and months, whether it's in a hotel or in a military base. That shouldn't be acceptable to anybody. It's not right for the taxpayer, and it's not right for the asylum seekers themselves. So the backlog of people waiting for ridiculous amounts of time needs to be addressed. We need to look at safe and legal routes. We need to talk up the positives of immigration as well, but also look at improving people's living standards. And cost of living has been front and centre of Andy Burnham's first few weeks as Prime Minister, and that does speak to and addresses some of the concerns that people have been expressing to me.
All right, Jermy, the Labour MP for South West Norfolk, thank you for talking to us this afternoon.